See now stories of infidelity and stories of betrayal. Today, I want to share with you a story that, although it generated a lot of judgment, is for me one of the most enriching experiences of my life. A few years ago, I had the opportunity to teach my best friend's son, who was 21 years old at the time, about the path to becoming a man and understanding intimate relationships. This young man temporarily lived in my apartment, and during this period, we lived together a multitude of experiences that marked his growth and development. Each moment was a life lesson, each conversation, a step towards maturity. If you're curious to know how it all happened and what lessons you learned from this journey, stay with us until the end. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and activate the bell so you don't miss any of the stories we share daily. Now, sit back and prepare for a narrative that promises to capture your attention from beginning to end. Let's get started. Who would have thought, at 40 years old, that I would find myself involved in an enigma involving a young man of just 21 years old? I admit that I have always considered myself a charming woman, but until that moment, I had never realized the impact my presence could have on younger men, let alone the sons of my friends. It is true that many boys cast longing glances, attracted by my well-groomed figure and the aura of experience I carry. However, many refrained, perhaps intimidated by the weight of my experience. But last summer, everything changed unexpectedly and uncontrollably. I have been married to Adrian for 20 years, a relationship that I have always considered solid and peaceful. We live in Boston, where our lives are serene and harmonious, surrounded by our children and stability. However, that summer brought with it a turn that challenged everything I knew. Adrian, my husband, is a man of traditions and firm values. Although he is not known for his intense passion, he never refused an invitation to intimacy. In fact, he fulfilled many of my wishes with a dedication that, at times, exceeded expectations. For Adrian, intimacy is something reserved for conventional moments, whether for procreation or to meet the basic needs of the couple. However, I have a different opinion. I believe that nature has gifted us with bodies that can experience pleasure to the fullest, and it is our right and desire to explore it to the fullest. I am always on the lookout for new developments that appear on the market, looking for the latest devices that promise to enrich this experience. In search of new dimensions of pleasure and self-knowledge, I signed up for Tantra classes, a practice that has always fascinated me deeply. I do not deny it. In the past, I have experienced intimate moments outside of my marriage. Adrian, my husband, is fully aware of this and has accepted my nature with admirable understanding. He knows that a man, no matter how dedicated he is, cannot satisfy all my physical and emotional needs. Therefore, I sincerely admit my insatiable nature, without any shame. After all, the search for satisfaction is a natural part of our human experience, and there is something irresistibly exciting about exploring the awakening of passion with someone who is just beginning to walk that path. That is exactly what I experienced with Frank, the son of my best friend, Carmen. Although he had come of age, Frank seemed to be slow to mature, but his journey of discovery brought with it an energy and intensity that was simply fascinating. Understood. We will rewrite the text, keeping the original structure and meaning, but with a more sophisticated and engaging approach. Frank was always surrounded by excessive protection, which led to some later discoveries than usual. As the mother of a young boy, I understand Carmen's concerns. However, my approach was different. When my son asked me questions about the world of sexuality and where babies come from, I tried to give him honest and detailed answers, making sure he received information from the most reliable source, his own mother. I admit that, In light of some opinions, I could have been more reserved at certain times. Adrian, my husband, thinks my approach to these topics is too liberal. But for me, authenticity and honesty are key. Being over 40 doesn't mean I have to give up pleasure and exploring my body as I did in my youth. Life is still a journey of discovery and pleasure, and I refuse to give up these experiences in the name of social conventions. Lately, I feel like I'm living a phase of full personal fulfillment. And it's in this context that I share an intriguing chapter of my life, an unexpected relationship with my best friend's son. Frank, about to begin his college studies in Boston next semester, found himself in a delicate situation. His mother, Carmen, had not yet found a suitable place for him to settle down. To ease the anxiety of his departure, Frank asked me to help him get to know the city so that he could become familiar with the surroundings before beginning his new academic stage. With the experience of someone who has lived in Boston for a long time, I offered to be his guide and mentor. I invited him to stay at my house for a few weeks before classes began. Frank is an only child, which partly explains Carmen's overly protective nature. She was always deeply involved in his life, reflecting his love and concern. At first, Carmen was hesitant. However, both Frank and I insisted enough to convince her of the sincerity of my offer. When I proposed that Frank stay at my house, my intention was purely to help, in the name of the friendship we have. There were no ulterior motives, just a genuine desire to offer support to a young man who is about to begin a new stage in his life. Reflecting on this, perhaps Frank had other thoughts in mind, although I didn't notice them at the time. After all, he was about to turn 20 and had never been involved with a woman. It's understandable that he's looking to escape his mother's overprotection. It's worth mentioning that my own son was no longer living with us, being away on campus at university. So for a few weeks, Frank would join us at home, with nothing more than the opportunity to adjust to the new life that awaited him. My main occupation now is housekeeping, a responsibility that my husband has taken on, allowing me to enjoy plenty of free time. This time I dedicate it to showing Frank the wonders of our city. When he arrived, he quickly settled into our home, and the first few days passed at a pace of absolute tranquility. During the day, we explored the local tourist attractions, enjoying every moment until sunset. In the evening, we returned for a shared dinner where we talked about our discoveries and experiences until tiredness drove us to sleep. The next day, the routine was repeated. On the third day, however, something unexpected happened. Normally, I would shower just before Adrian arrived for dinner, while Frank entertained himself in the living room with the television or his cell phone. What occurred was a deviation from normality that, if followed to the end, will reveal an intriguing denouement. Don't miss it. However, that day unfolded unexpectedly. I felt particularly safe entering the bathroom and, distracted by my thoughts, I didn't bother to close the door. I turned on the shower and left my clothes aside before entering and closing the curtain behind me. The sensation of warm water running over my body was always an unparalleled pleasure. It was then that, through the curtain, I saw a silhouette across the street. Frank was there, standing and watching. My heart raced in surprise, and the feeling of being watched intensified even more when I noticed his reaction. It was evident that he was excited by what he saw. He, noticing my gaze, quickly placed his hand on the visibly interested area, and I, astonished, asked him to move away. With a mix of confusion and apprehension, I said, "What are you doing here? You can't be here." The moment was fraught with tension, and I could hardly believe the situation before me. "I really need your help with something," he replied, trying to explain the situation. He replied, his words filled with an urgency that couldn't be ignored. What do you mean? With a lump in my throat, I murmured, I want you to help me find relief. He hesitated for a moment, as if considering the seriousness of the proposal. Finally, with an expectant expression, he replied, You can help me with that. My mind was clouded with uncertainty, and the unexpected request left me stunned. I firmly replied, This is not a game. Wait for me outside. Although I considered myself an open and practical person on delicate issues, his proposal was beyond what I could accept without thinking. However, considering the possibility that the young man could find himself in a dangerous situation without proper support, my concern and desire to protect him influenced my decision. I then decided that, rather than leaving him alone, I would take on the responsibility of leading and guiding him responsibly and carefully. Okay, but we will do it my way, I said in a determined tone. Then he left the bathroom, understanding the need for a separate space. Knowing that Adrian could arrive at any moment, the tension and rhythm of our days with Frank became more and more intriguing. To ensure we had enough alone time before Adrian arrived, we decided to move our daily walks forward. These private moments were carefully planned to maintain discretion, and without fail, each day became a more immersive experience than the last. Our bathroom encounter became an almost ceremonial ritual, a kind of pleasurable training that we both thoroughly enjoyed. Frank was given detailed instructions, with clear suggestions on how to explore and manage his newfound curiosity, improving his ability to prolong pleasure and enhance the experience. My goal was to teach him how to balance his own pleasure and how to prolong the time of intimacy with any partner, or at least the time needed for her to climax first. There is nothing more disheartening than a partner who cannot satisfy his partner, and I was determined to help him overcome this limitation. I will not deny that taking on the role of mature mentor, guiding an eager young man on his journey to understand and satisfy a woman, has brought me deep satisfaction. I knew I was challenging him, making him wait to experience intimate moments, but if I wanted him to really learn, it was essential that he prepare himself to offer a lasting and meaningful experience. In essence, it was a relationship of mutual discovery. He would learn to become a man, and I, in turn, would enjoy the experience and the thrill of guiding him, reveling in the vitality and youthful energy that had long since abandoned me. Now I would like to know if you have already had the opportunity to go through a similar educational process. If so, leave your comment below. Continuing, at the end of the first week with Frank in our home, he was able to keep up the pace for about 15 minutes. However, for an appetite like mine, this was not enough. So, we decided to increase the duration. We did not need extra inspiration, but I chose to enrich the experience with visual material to assess how what we were learning was applied in practice. He demonstrated admirable patience, and over time, the morning workout became routine. I made it my mission to make the most of these moments, not only for personal satisfaction, but also because of the importance of ensuring he felt ready and comfortable. During the nights when Adrian was not available to meet my needs, I faced these situations alone. However, with Frank there was a new and exciting possibility of fulfilling my own fantasies, which made each experience even more intriguing and rewarding. I hesitated deeply before making the final decision, especially considering that Carmen had recently moved house, taking with her what I had cultivated on my own journey of discovery. Fear and insecurity ruled me. The first lesson I offered Frank was on the essentials of giving a woman true pleasure. I cannot deny that he was extremely dedicated. For the third time, he managed to bring me to climax, although I still needed to guide him. That was the sign I was waiting for to know that he was really ready. He knew that I used to take some time for myself in the evenings, right before our training sessions. Last Friday, when Carmen was home, Frank surprised me by entering my room unannounced. This unexpected moment marked a new chapter in our journey. The moment when everything unfolded was like a flash in the dark night. The decision to give in to desire seemed inevitable. Frank, now with unexpected confidence, guided me masterfully, placing me against the window and displaying skills that only a true master would possess. That night was a milestone, the closing of an intense and unforgettable cycle. The following Sunday, Frank moved into an apartment near the university. Carmen never knew the depth of what we shared, and her occasional visits never managed to revive what we had. The mission I had set for myself was complete. The cycle closed, and we moved on with our lives. Frank now fully enjoys his youth and, from time to time, fondly remembers what we lived through. When I feel alone, these moments come to mind and offer me unexpected comfort. That's all for today. Leave your opinion in the comments and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. We have new content every day. Click the like button and share it with your loved ones. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time. See you later.